All right, good evening, everyone. This is the October 27, 2022 meeting of the Rockport Planning Board. All members are in attendance, and we'll start the meeting with what's on the agenda, which is a public comment period. This is a period reserved for members of the public to comment on matters, anything relating to planning that's not scheduled for a public hearing. And so we'll take public comment at this time. And if anybody wants to talk, say something, you know, obviously keep it to the point, but raise your hand. Not in the room, but raise your hand function on your computer.
Oh, geez, stickler.
Yeah.
A hand from Bob Visnick and Ron Newman.
Okay, well, I saw Ron, so then we'll go to Bob.
Okay. Yeah, hi. Ron Newman, 9B Tars Lane West. And I'd like to add a farmer's porch to my home, my condominium. And I've never been to a meeting like this before, so I don't know when it's the appropriate time to raise that. I spoke with Mary in the office, and I was told that you folks would have some paperwork and would be familiar with this. So is this the appropriate time to bring it up?
No, it actually isn't. First of all, I don't know what a farmer's porch is, but whatever it is, if you think you need have you talked to the building inspector?
Yes, he said because when the condo was planned and constructed, it went through the planning board, and so we had to come here in order to get approval.
For what, like a modification? Why don't you do this? Why don't you call the office tomorrow, Ron? Okay, this is just, sounds like you're going to need to file an application, and this isn't really the time to address that.
Oh, okay. I did speak to Mary, and she advised me to come here.
Here you are.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to talk with you tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right.
I've been away for the last 2 weeks, so.
All right. So I'll call the office tomorrow.
Yeah, okay,
Thank you
great.
very much.
Jason, I thought this was a little unusual to be referred to us because there's not 6,000 square feet on that parcel, so it could not have been a site
I don't know
plan.
what it is at this point, Tom, so let's wait.
Okay,
I don't want to take up time now talking about it.
well, the file is 7 inches thick, so.
I know, but it's
didn't
not
wanna-
even on the agenda, so.
Okay,
All right.
so,
Thank you.
sorry, Ron.
Okay. All right, any other, Bob Visnick, you had your hand up.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman. Is this the appropriate time to talk about agenda items? I have the OLET A&R before you this evening.
No, that'll be addressed directly.
Okay,
Yeah, I know you're involved in that, so yeah.
okay.
This is just for, basically for people to talk about planning issues that aren't on the agenda, or, yeah. But you're an applicant. Yeah. Did you have anything else, Bob, or was that it?
Nothing else.
Okay. Anyone else?
Don't see anybody else, Mr. Chair.
Okay, then we'll move on to just what you were talking about, Bob, is the Stephen Ouellette 2 Gap Head Road, the A&R. And you want to address the board on that, Bob, or?
Yes, please. So we're here this evening with this A&R to seeking to transfer a parcel of 1,295 square feet from Sturtevant ownership at 4 Gap Head Road to Ouellette at 2 Gap Head Road. And this parcel was formerly the location of a septic system components at 4 Gap Head Road. The septic system has been removed. Both parcels are now on sewer. And so the reason for this ownership no longer exists. The property was formerly an undivided ownership. It was divided by an A&R plan number 260 of 1975. The There were easements created in 2004, and it was to allow this little parcel of land that logically should be part of 2 Gap Head Road to be owned by 4 Gap Head Road, because that's where the septic system for number 4 was. And this was originally easement number 2 in an easement in book 23650, page 401. It was contemplated in that easement that if sewer became available, the grantor shall make this transfer. The easements were modified and restated in 2015 when the property at 4 went into ownership by Peter Keller. And that easement is dated May 15th, 2015, book 34058, page 373. And in that easement, it also states that the property shall be transferred back to 2 Gap Head Road at 2 Gap Head Road's request when the property is taken off septic and onto sewer. And so that is what happened in this situation. And Keller has recently sold to Sturtevant. And so now we're ready to make the transfer that was contemplated when all of this was created.
Okay, I'm glad you explained that, because that's kind of seemed, it was, I have to say, it was the map. It was difficult to kind of understand what was going on here, but I did go out and look at the property, and maybe others did too. One of the things the map doesn't indicate is who owns lot 8 and who owns lot 8A, which we have 2 different applicants here. Who owns each lot?
If in the application, I think it
But I mean,
addresses
the
that.
map doesn't indicate it. Usually it says property.
Right, but 2 Gap Head Road is map 30 parcel 8, and 4 Gap Head Road is map 30 parcel 8A.
Right, but what I'm saying is on the map, what we've usually seen is property of X, the name of one of the applicants, and property of Y, the name of the other applicant, indicating which parcel is owned by which applicant. This map doesn't have that. So,
Well, I mean, on the upper right, it shows that information.
right.
In the notes.
Okay, assessor's map lot 8 and lot 8A. Yes, it does. You're right. So what are the lot 2A and 1B and 2C? What are those lots?
Well, there were other easements that ended up on this plan, and those are for such things as parking and beach rights and stuff, but none of those are really relevant to what we're talking about this evening. We're only talking about that little lot 2B that is that you can see in dark. That's called easement number 3.
Can
Yeah.
we screen share the plan?
Yeah,
Sure.
why don't you do that?
That'd be
Yeah.
It's,
Would you like me to do that?
Well,
I've
no,
got it up.
Peter's got
Okay.
it. Thanks.
there you go.
So right in the middle of what you're looking at, lot 2B, that is presently owned by the upper lot, number 4, because that's where its septic components were.
Actually, number 4 is really is not number 4. It's not lot 8A.
Well, I guess there are a lot of different ways you can refer to it. It's 4 Gap Head Road, it's lot 8A, yes.
Yeah, because your application refers to lot 8 and lot 8A. So I'm assuming this would be lot 8A, which is Sturtevant.
That's correct.
So why, this is just, and this is part of the reason for my confusion here. Why
Sure.
do we even have on this map, which is going to be a map of record, why do we even have lot 2A, 2C, and 1B and 1A on this thing? Why are they even relevant to this application?
Well, I'm not the draft person of this, so I can't tell you why, other than I believe he was just trying to be an accurate scrivener of putting all these in place, just because that's all part of the easement, even though we're only talking about one aspect of it. It's all part of one document.
Should we be concerned with these various easements on the planning board? Because
I don't believe that you should. I think that they're there just to, again, be an accurate visualization of what exists on the easement that we're talking about, which is actually a series of 5 easements.
yeah,
and
yeah,
one of them-
it's a lot of easements and
Yeah,
references, and of course, we don't have copies of the easements, and so really what you're doing just boils down to you're really doing a lot line adjustment is what you're doing.
that's correct.
So why are you here? You're not creating a new lot, you're just moving a boundary.
We're moving a parcel that belonged to one lot over to the other.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, Bob, is lot 2B, if there's a line on that lot, well, a lot 2B, it's not really a lot. You're just taking a line from property that was owned by, I guess.
Well, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Let me just finish. It was owned by lot 8A. And now that property, the ownership of that property is going to be transferred to lot 8.
That's correct.
That's all you're doing.
Yes.
8.
8 is the lower of the 2.
Yeah.
It says lot 2A on my map here.
Oh, but the third line then references.
Oh, I
map
see. I
30.
see. Map lot number. Okay, got it.
You know what I
What's
was-
confusing here is this entire drawing seems to be done with the numbers 1, 2, and 3 and A, B, and C for many different reasons. It just takes a while to figure it out.
Yeah.
But you can see the 2 bold areas on the bottom lot, number 2, address number 2. Existing lot 2A used to be the whole thing. Lot 2B is added to it, and that gives you the numbers for lot 2C. So the bold just means that's the latest number that we would be concerned with.
That's correct.
One thing I was wondering is, rather than just transferring the property to another lot, you're creating lot 2B. And to my understanding, we can't create a lot that has no frontage.
It's a parcel that is part of the other lot, and we're now transferring ownership of it. I seem to have done this many times with
Yeah,
your
but
board.
Bob, why don't you just move the lot line? I mean, look, this is a classic lot line adjustment where lot number 4, I'll use that reference, number 2 and number 4, because there's so many references here. The line that you say new lot line, that lot 2B right now, the area, I shouldn't say lot 2B because it's not a lot, but the area that is designated as lot 2B is now owned by number 4, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so now, if you moved the line and just transferred that to number 2, what? I guess I'm conceptually, I'm having a little trouble here.
Well, I guess all I can say is traditionally, this is how we've been instructed to do this, and
By
and
who?
so-
By who?
what's that? By prior planning boards.
Oh, okay, well. Because you're right. I mean, you're creating, essentially, what you're doing is you're transferring property from between adjoining property owners. You're really not creating a lot. And if you were creating a lot, it would be a lot with 0 frontage. But you don't want to, we're not doing that. So you're just moving.
No, we're right.
Yeah, you're just moving property from one property owner to another adjoining property owner is what you're doing.
That's correct.
You're just moving, in other words, you're moving a line.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I call a lot line adjustment. You're moving a line from between two different properties.
We don't actually, in the definitions, define a lot as being a buildable lot. It's just any piece of
Yeah, but
property
we-
that has definable edges.
What we,
So in
what
that
we-
sense, it fits the definition of a lot in our current zoning.
yeah, but
Hmm,
on A and Rs, we don't create lots that don't have frontage unless they're, in this case, what you would want to see on the map is, you know, a note saying not a buildable lot to be, you know, this area is to be transferred from number 4 to number 2, or from lot 8A to lot 8, and have a note on the plan that says that. And all this other stuff about easements and lot 2A and easement 1 and easement 2, and that's, as far as I can tell, that is really not relevant to what we're doing.
No, it's on the plan for clarity, I guess, for conveyancing purposes. It exists on the easement that that we're referring to that permits all of this to occur. So if you would like a cleaner plan, we can certainly get that.
Yeah, well, I for one spent a lot of time trying to figure out what the relevance of all these easements were. And the new lot 2C and all that stuff. And it looks to me like, you know, if you took all that off of here and you just simply had, you know, this lot or this area, and that's going to be transferred from number 4 to number 2, it would be infinitely clearer on this map. And not have all this other information that really doesn't pertain to us. And also, what concerns me is that if we approve a map that has all this other information on it, I mean, it could be argued by someone in the future, I don't think now, but that somehow we approve the information that's the other information that's on the map that really we haven't, because we don't know what it means. So, yeah. I'm not comfortable with this map as it's done right now.
Okay.
This is a really simple thing. And I think your
Well, I
survey,
can have a new map for you, certainly, a new plan for you.
yeah. So just to move this along a little bit, I don't know how, I don't want to, you know, I've talked a lot. How about anybody else? What do you, any other members of the planning board?
Yeah, so my input on this is that, and I'm taking from what Attorney Visnick stated earlier, is that we're effectively restoring the lot or the area to that lot. Primarily for the simple reason that it was needed for a leach field.
That's correct.
And how long ago was that? I mean, that had to have been quite a few years ago.
I believe Mr. Ouellette has physically raised his hand, and he may be able to provide more of a historical reference than can I.
Can. Am I unmuted now? I'm not sure.
Yeah, you
Yes,
We
are.
can hear you.
Yeah, so this property that we're currently discussing has actually been in my family since 1968. In 1970, around 72, an attempt was made to turn number 4, which shows now as the number 4 building. It was at that point an old workshop and a stable. Because the property is single residence only, they had to subdivide. So the original subdivision line follows down the existing line between building number 2 and number 4, right down to where it says new lot line. Right out, actually, I think it went further before, but basically that line was straight. In order to accommodate the septic system for number 4 Gap Head Road, they had to dig into the area behind what is now my house, number 2, to install the field there. When we bought the property from my mother, who also owned number 4, I was very concerned because I did not want to have somebody own land that is directly behind my house and actually is required for access to what we call the boat room. There are two 30-foot bays that were originally used for Coast Guard boats. We now use them for vehicles or smaller boats. They come out of that, you really can't see where it is, but between lot 2B and the house number 2, that area is required to access the boat room. So we were very concerned. We had that easement drawn in 92 when we bought the property from my mother. And now we're just trying to restore the lot line. So as I see this, this plan, basically, it's creating from existing lot 2A and lot 2B, a new lot 2C, which is going to be 22,165 square feet. So it clearly states it's creating one lot out of lot 2A and lot 2B to be called lot 2C. So I don't think it creates a separate lot, and the way that it's structured in the deed, it's going to become part of just existing lot 2A will now be 2C without additional square footage. So it's really just restoring it to the way it was originally subdivided in the 70s. Now that septic system is no longer required. And in fact, that septic system under a Concom ruling is now being used to divert some water that comes down through a drainage system and goes into that from my side of the line, from number 2. So there is a water dispersal system being used within that area, but it's kind of minimal to this whole issue. But the intent is just to restore the lot lines to the way they were when it was originally subdivided before the need for the septic system for number 4 was discovered. So it just creates one bigger lot and reduces the size of another lot. And it's just as you say, it's a moving of a lot line.
If you just took what you've designated as old lot line on this lot 2B and moved that old lot line to the north, that's essentially all you're doing here is you're moving a lot line from that which created an odd parcel of number 4. You're moving that line to the north to where you've designated is the new lot line. This is a lot line adjustment, and that's
Correct.
That is all it is.
Correct.
It's this.
That's why we thought approval was not required. So
Right. Well, it's usually approval is not required. Yeah, that's true. But there's so much extraneous information on this map that which you don't know when you're looking at it initially, whether it's relevant or important to this consideration or not. And don't forget, these maps are going to be filed and going to be on record for as long as we care. And so what I would suggest is that this map be redone and just have the information on it that's relevant to the planning board's consideration for this. If you want to call it an A&R, fine. And simply say, the lot line for this area of lot number 4 and number 2 is going to be moved to the north to where it would be logically anyway, which is, right down the middle between the 2 lots. So that's what I would recommend. And I don't know if anybody else on the planning board agrees with that.
Yeah, I agree with that end result. The only thing that bothers me is in the interim, calling this lot 2B, that just seems wrong. You get around that by making a direct movement of the property line.
Well, I think that the surveyor was just trying to delineate what he had to call it something. And it may be an inapt phrase, but just to show what it was that was being transferred.
Well, he can just show, the lot line as it is now and just call it a lot line adjustment and show where the new lot line is going to be, afterward. And fine, if it needs our approval. I mean, look, this is going to get approved ultimately, but right now this map needs to be revised.
Okay.
And we can't give a conditional approval of a A&R. That's not allowed. So we either have to approve it, or more than 21 days passes and it gets approved automatically, or it gets denied. So those are our three choices, unfortunately. I wish we had more time to do
Yeah.
it. But
I mean,
We're at 21 days today.
yeah, so we need to take an action today, and without, I've really never had a situation where I've asked someone to put less on a map. But in this case, I would say, yeah.
well, if I may defend that, I think that the
After
the explanation is on the left above your approval not required language. It explains what's happening. And I think, yeah, right up there.
Yeah, well, anyway, that's
And
just,
so I would suggest to you that the information is not necessarily extraneous. It's just there to give clarity to existing easements for, conveyancing purposes in the future. It's just better than the description that was in the original easement. So I think it has value. I don't think that it causes confusion. And I think that it's going to be recorded, and then the appropriate deeds are going to be recorded, transferring the land back and forth. So I guess my view of this is that the plan is perfectly fine. We'll come back if
that should be okay. Well, I get it. And I mean, I think it's, I have to say, I was confused and maybe it's just, I'm not quick enough here, but I was confused, calling lot 2A, but it's lot 8, and lot 1A is actually lot 8A, and then there's lot 2C, and then there's lot 2B, and then there are all these easements, and, it's just stuff that is very confusing. A&R should be very simple. You look at the map, you can tell exactly what's going on and what's being done, and I didn't find that to be the case with this map.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all. So,
Well, I wasn't quite clear, and I don't mind having that excess information on it for other reasons. I wasn't clear that how the naming of lot 2 and lot 1 evolved, whether that was just a convenience of the drafts person. Because either you're part of address number 2 or address number 4, which would be consistent, or you're part of whatever the actual lot that the city uses, 8A and 8.
The parcel numbers.
These new numbers, lot 1 and lot 2, seem somehow arbitrary, as if they were just invented, and they weren't even in the same order as the other two. So it just, my problem was it took me a long time to just figure out what piece of property was what.
Yeah, I believe that lots 1 and 2 refer to the plan of subdivision from 1975. Because originally the numbering on Gap Head Road, I don't think number 4 existed when that first subdivision plan. So he was working off the original subdivision plan. I mean, he came back and remeasured absolutely everything under the sun, which from the standpoint of the property owners is helpful. It's probably I mean, I've never really concentrated on it. It's way too much information, but.
Yeah. Well, look, here's a question I have. Is there actually a lot 8A now, or is it number 4? How would you describe that property? Is it 8A or is it number 4?
If I may, Jason?
Yeah.
Or is it one
Okay.
B?
I mean, it's the map and lot is how the assessors refer to it.
Yeah, okay.
And number 4 is, of course, the street address that the DPW gives to it. If you want me to share my screen, I can show you the 1975 plan because I am looking at it. And of course,
While
the
you're going
applicant-
through there, what then is lot 1B? Is it a lot or not a lot?
It is, it's existing lot 1A is from the A&R plan that the planning board signed off on in 1975. So maybe it's unfortunate that it was called 1A and 2A then, but I think the surveyor was just trying to be consistent with the plans of record. And of course, the plans of record designations are different than the street address designations, which are different than, the map and lot
assessor.
assigned by the assessor. So, it is confusing, but I don't think that the plan adds additional confusion. I mean, that's just the life of how properties are designated. And so
Oh,
since 1975, what is 4 or part of 4 was called 1A, and where Stevens House was called 2A on this the 1975 A&R plan.
We are adding some new terminology, 1B, 2B, 2C.
Well, I believe so, because it's no longer Plan 1A. It's the next sequence, which he called Plan Lot 1B. And so
Yeah.
he's just being consistent with, his world, which is the world of the recorded plans.
Yeah, I think Jason was saying, leave it as 1A and just move the lot line.
But we need to be able to say what was the area of 1A and what's the area of something new with the lot line moved. So you have to distinguish it from, I kind of sympathize, you have to distinguish it from 1A.
Yes.
We'll just call it transferred area.
Yeah, I mean, in retrospect, I guess we could Monday morning quarterback this plan, but I think he was trying to be consistent with a bunch of different things, and this was the protocol he used, which is
Yeah,
probably similar.
I don't doubt that, but unfortunately, in my mind, it's really, he's got too much information on this plan, and because of that, it becomes unclear. And I guess our question right now is, I just want to put this out there because we've been doing a lot of talking, but is anybody ready to make a motion to approve this A&R as it is today?
Actually, I would.
Okay, any second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Well, let's take a roll call vote. All in favor?
Aye.
That's Peter,
Peter.
Harry, you're in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
Tom?
Nay,
Yeah, and I'm also gonna vote nay. I think it's a matter of just reworking the plan. And if we've got a 2-2, unfortunately, we don't have a fifth member on the board. So a 2-2, I believe, is not an approval.
Do you mind spending a minute giving some direction here? I would suggest that lot 2B, the land that's in question, just be relabeled land to be transferred. And existing lot 2 has an existing area and a proposed area, and existing lot 1 has an existing area and a proposed area. I think that would be a clearer way to describe it.
agree.
Well,
I mean, there is, if you look at the plan, that already exists.
It just does right with confusing labeling, basically.
It says existing lot 1A, which is what it is, and then new lot 1B, and it shows the area on one side subtracting 1295. And on the other one, it shows existing lot 2A with its former
One that's-
area.
2 is more confusing because it creates this fictitious lot 2B, adds it to 2A and creates 2C, I think. You almost just need a fourth line underneath existing lot 2 and existing lot 1, the current nomenclature for those, and they're just increased in area because the lot line moves.
Look, let me make a suggestion. I don't want to make anybody's life difficult here, but I think we've spent a lot of time talking about this, and the fact that we've spent a lot of time talking about it is kind of indicative of the, somewhat because of all this information, because the surveyor was trying to be as detailed as possible, what happened was that this became, there's way too much information on what is otherwise a very simple lot line change between the two properties. So what I would suggest is that, Peter, that you, and this is up to you, Bob, discuss this with the surveyor and come back with a new map at the next meeting that can be prepared.
Okay,
I mean, is that something that's doable?
certainly fine with me.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, and I think your surveyor, Peter, what do you think of that?
Sure.
And Peter, how would I best reach you?
My cell is 617-548-7852.
And Mary, and you have your new email address too, right?
Right. It's pcutner3@gmail.com.
Okay,
With 2 T's in Cutner.
So it sounds to me like it's mostly white out.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. All the information is there. This is just a matter of taking stuff off the map.
so you want all the other easement information off the map?
Unless, Bob, you think it's somehow relevant to what you're doing here. Yeah, why
It's,
have it there?
it's not, how do I describe this? It's not relevant to your determination for the moving of the lot lines. It is important to describe the area for a conveyance or
Yes.
future matters. It's very nice to have all of that information there in one place as opposed to going through and finding it in different areas in the title. So I think it's Kirk Benson's custom to do that. But of course, if it's germane to your determination, I can have him remove it. But I do think we get a less valuable plan for future purposes.
Okay. Well, I think that's something that, Peter, you can talk about with the surveyor. I get your point, Bob, on that, but it's just, yeah, I get your point.
I mean, I understand, I see what all of you are saying. There's a lot of information here, but I think that when you read the notes on either side of the plan and you combine that with the application, that I think it's self-explanatory. It is consistent with the prior plan, which I think is probably something that surveyors are taught to do. So that's why it's 1A, 1B, 1C, because it was all part of a 1A and 2A when it was when it was divided back in the day.
Is
And
that prior plan referenced on this plan, the prior approval?
Let me take a look at my version of it.
Is that the first paragraph in the upper?
Yeah, Plan 260 of 1975.
Yes, it's right there.
Going on plan, okay, yeah.
But, one other thing I'd like to point out, the surveyors will not want to keep the same lot designation like 1A, where they've now varied that area in a subsequent plan. So that's a concern, because if you call the 4 Gap Head Road Lot 1A reduced, it will be very confusing for any
Yes.
subsequent title examiner to really understand what lot you're referring to. Are you referring to Lot 1A as it existed in 2021, or as it exists in 2023? And that is why the surveyors try to redesignate the lot so that it says 1B, and somebody's got to find 1B on a plan before they can understand what is owned by a piece of property.
I think the
Well, I-
difference between creating a lot and transferring it and just moving a property line is there's no reason for lot 2B to suddenly exist for this tiny instant in time, only to disappear again into the other property.
Yeah.
We've got 3 ways of describing lot number 4. We've got it's number 4, it's number 1A, it's number 1B, and it's number what, 8 something. It's so like, it's got to be able to be simplified, but also satisfy the surveyor's requirement, and to allow someone to read it, understand what's going on, and to reference the older maps by looking at them without all these different lot designations all over the map. And that's what I'm hoping the surveyor and Peter, can work out. Peter's an architect. He's used to reading plans. He understands this stuff. And I think he can talk to the surveyor, and with you too, Bob, obviously, and work out something that satisfies everybody.
Yes, no, I understand that. I mean, I'm only going to say this in Kirk's defense. He's not here, but he has no choice as to the other designations. I mean, it's map 30 on the assessor's map, lot 8A, having nothing to do with plans of record at the Registry of Deeds. And likewise, the numbers 2 and 4. I mean, those are all out of his control. He put them in there probably in the same way that he puts every other, he does all of these the same way, probably pursuant to his rules and regulations and
Well,
guidelines.
yeah, that's what I think a direct conversation with him will
Yeah,
flesh out. We're kind of all assuming he can't do this or he can do this, and maybe he can. I don't know, but I mean,
Well,
so
the
let's-
other
let's-
problem is that there's you notice, for example, Lot 2B was part of easement area 3. I guess the other ones are easement area 4. All right, so it shouldn't affect it.
The easement area 3 is
I
referring
think we
there.
beat- I think we've beaten this to
septic field,
death,
right?
folks. So can we just, we didn't get approved. Is everybody comfortable with moving on with this map and coming up with a new map?
We're actually meeting next week, right?
Yeah, but it's too late to get it on the agenda for next week. But it can be on the agenda in, middle of November.
Can it stay on the agenda since it's already been on an agenda? I mean, I don't know how quickly the surveyor can
Yeah,
turn the plan
right. We
around.
don't know how quickly, and we voted, it wasn't approved tonight. And I think just to keep it clear, keep it clean, is that it's back on the agenda when the surveyor, and after the surveyor and Peter have discussed ways to simplify the map. And then it'll get back on the agenda, and, it'll be approved, I mean, it's that simple.
Okay. Well, thank you.
I mean, is that, I'm, I know it's kind of a pain in the neck, but I think it's better to do it in a way that it simplifies it as much as possible. So in the future, people will know exactly what was going on here, and not necessarily indicating that we're creating a lot 2B when in fact, we're just moving a lot line from one property to another property.
Jason, do we need to do something about doing this without prejudice and for the filing?
I mean,
fee?
I guess the motion would be to deny without prejudice, to resubmit as per our, discussions tonight. That would be the best way to do it.
Okay, I move he be allowed to resubmit without prejudice.
Okay, so are you moving to deny the application as is without prejudice to resubmit?
We already denied it, didn't we?
Yeah.
Okay,
Re-deny it.
well, if it's already been denied, then they just have to resubmit, that's all.
Okay.
There's no need to discuss it further. And, I'm sure it'll be something that will be easily done. Because as somebody already said, all the information is there. It's basically taking an eraser. Anybody have anything else on this application?
Everything has been said.
Okay. We'll move on and we'll see you folks in a couple of weeks, hopefully.
3 weeks would be our,
Oh, so it all depends on how quickly the surveyor can get this done after talking to Peter. All right, let's move to the next item. Michael Caffey.
yeah, I had suggested that Michael come back to us because he turned in some legal documents showing authority to pursue this. And I just wanted to have him get some reading from us that that's appropriate for a future determination. We had said that it might need a hearing.
Okay. Yeah, this is just to refresh everyone's memory. This is a 6 South Street, a request to modify an existing site plan approval where it was specifically referenced in the site plan that the approval on page 5 specifically referenced the proposed project minimizes paved surfaces in order to support on-site infiltration. And then it goes on to say the only additional impervious surface associated with this proposal comes from the proposed building footprint, and the driveways will be gravel. Therefore, the applicant is proposing the minimal amount of paved surface necessary to implement the proposed residential use. The applicant now wants to change that to pave the surface that was specifically designated as being unpaved in the approval before. And since then time, we had a question the last time about Michael Caffrey's authority to appear on behalf of the other members of the, I guess, of the association. He submitted a whole bunch of documentation showing that he has the authority to do that. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm satisfied with his authority to appear.
Good. That was going to be my first question tonight. So you have enough documentation so we can proceed?
I think so. Anybody else have any other opinion about that?
It's good by me.
I'm good.
Yeah. Okay.
Harry, you had suggested in a previous meeting some specific types of documents. Did the ones that we received seem sufficient?
Yeah, I'm looking at currently looking at the permission to act on behalf of trustees, and that seems to pass the test sufficiently.
Okay, so we're over that hurdle, that kind of procedural hurdle.
Right.
I have one question if I can ask that?
Yeah, Michael, what, go ahead. That's
All
you.
right. When we had the very first meeting, there were some takeaway questions, and I think the board was going to talk to the DPW about their use of asphalt millings in the town on streets, and I had been told they had used them on Granite Pier, and I was just wondering if the board did meet with anyone from the DPW to discuss their use of that and how they felt about using it in town.
Well, let me ask you a question. Is this an impervious surface that you plan, another impervious surface or not? Is it will it stop the rain from going through into the ground?
The documentation I have on asphalt millings is that it's porous. It's not as solid, it's ground up asphalt. And it has a porous nature to it. I'm not an expert. The contractor is the expert in the area, and he was the one that told me that it was pervious or porous. So I did some research. The information I had, which I sent with the original application, states that asphalt millings permit more water to flow through than asphalt, which would be totally impervious. So that's why he had recommended us using the millings, because the kind of grading that he needs to do to prevent the flooding that's happening during a heavy rains in the backyard of Unit A, it would hold up better over time as opposed to just regrading the existing gravel that's there.
Yeah, I have heard also that it's impervious as long as dirt and dust does not get into it. And that unless you keep it vacuumed, it actually becomes impervious. But that's me. I'm not.
I think the problem here is that I'm not an expert. I don't think any of you are experts, and I'm relying on the contractor who's used them in different streets that he's told me about, and stuff holds up pretty good. In that, from what he's told me and the documentation I've seen, that it is a porous material. So it's hard to go by, well, I heard this or I heard that. I'm being told, and I'm in the same boat. And I'm trying to see this through the best way that we can, because we want to do, as Jerry Greer told me, he says, I really like to do the first time the right way. And so I'm trying to see this through. Obviously, I think the board, from my interpretation, I think the board will probably lean to a public hearing, which is fine if that's what we need to do. I'll look to see it through. But if we have a public hearing, I think Jerry needs to be there.
Yeah.
Answer questions.
Yeah. So why don't we do this? Why don't we, move this thing along and schedule it for a public hearing at the next. Today's not a real meeting. Today's kind of a misscheduled meeting. We have a meeting on the 3rd. And then our next meeting will be
17.
17th, which is, well, boy.
Well, if I can offer some perspective here, Jerry is going to be gone for the entire month of November. So if he's going to be available, we need to kind of hold off, maybe December or even the beginning of next year, if that's permissible.
Yeah, we could, sure, whatever. I was thinking the November meeting would be with the publication and notices you have to send out. That might be problematic, but certainly it's up to you, Michael, if you want to do it in, we have the first Thursday in December is the 6th of December. Oh, I'm sorry, is the 8th of December. That's our first meeting. And then we go to the
22nd.
22nd. So you want to do either one of those would be adequate time for the notices to be done.
Are you saying the public hearing would be on either the 8th or the 22nd, or is that just the point to kick it off?
No, I'm
May
just,
I interrupt here? May I interrupt here?
yeah,
I think that we may be having our special town meeting that first week in December unless I'm missing something.
yeah, I don't know what date it's gonna be, though. Usually it's a Monday.
Yeah. So it would come before that. Okay.
So if you want to do it on the, okay, Christmas falls on Sunday. Christmas Eve is the 24th. Yeah, we could do it on the 22nd or the 8th. What's,
I'm kind of thinking, why don't we hold off until January? Would that be okay?
yeah, I mean, it's up to you, really. If you,
Yeah, I mean, we're not in any rush at this point.
Yeah.
And I'd be able to get time to make sure everybody, because obviously, we have the public hearing. I want everybody there,
Yeah.
not just,
Good. Okay, that would be January 5th.
okay.
All right.
Jason, before we close out this item, I did have contact with DPW.
Okay,
And I asked about the use of the asphalt millings on Granite Pier. This was to Gary LeBlanc, Director of DPW.
Yeah.
He told me they use it to fill holes
okay,
on the pier, not for the overall paving, so to speak. And I went on to ask him whether that had required any environmental approval from Concom. And he said he didn't think so. He thought it was done under blanket approval. And I would have liked to have checked with Concom, but at the time they didn't exist.
Right.
And now they do.
Yeah.
So maybe there's another connection to be made.
Okay, well, look, I think by January 5th of 2023, everyone will have their answers, including Michael will have his people to address these issues, because, you know, the remaining impervious would be a pretty important thing on this particular property because of just the way it's situated and the way it tends to drain. It looks like it drains actually towards South Street. So if the water that would otherwise be captured on the property would now have nowhere to go except towards South Street, that might not be a good thing. But that's something that can be addressed.
Jason, I don't know if you want to take public comments, but I see the chair of Concom has her hand up.
Yeah, I don't really want to, you know, talk about it. Talk about this at this point. Why don't we?
It's not a hearing.
Yeah, we don't have a hearing tonight, and it's not really fair to the applicant to start taking comments when he hasn't gotten his information all together. So,
Yeah, I did want to convey the information from DPW that he asked about, though.
yeah, if anybody's got information that may be relevant to this, then we've got a public hearing. It looks like have agreed, and we need a motion to have a public hearing on January 5th of 2023 at, let's say 6:45. Does anybody want to make that motion?
So moved.
Okay, motion by Tom Meekis to schedule the application for 6 South Street for 6:45 on January 5th, 2023. Motion made, seconded the motion.
Second,
Was that Peter?
Peter.
Seconded by Peter. Okay, roll call vote. All in favor, Peter,
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Harry?
Aye.
And I'll vote in favor. So, okay, Michael, Mr. Cap, see you on the 23rd. I'm sure, on the 5th, I'm sorry, of 2023, and we'll
little wait.
contact between then. Why don't you call the office tomorrow to discuss what needs to be done for the public hearing,
Sure,
for the notice, and talk with Mary?
okay.
Could I ask one question? I am having trouble with the one sketch that was provided. It seems like it was there for sump pumps and water storage. and doesn't quite show the driveway. Are we still talking about just after the driveways join and from there to South Street? Or the whole?
We're talking about what I call it the actual public driveway, because the newer unit has a garage, and I call that our kind of private parking area. That's not included. It's just the gravel. So it comes about halfway down the hill from my unit C and unit B, and it would also contain
Yeah, it's the common
private
area.
area of unit A, anything that's currently considered part of the common land. Anything that's contained within the bound of what is considered my designated space is excluded.
The common land does do what Jason said, which it goes from that joint where the two meet down to South Street.
It heads that way, but unfortunately it ends up in mostly in behind unit 6A right now. I mean, there is some, there's, as you get far closer to South Street, it drains down that way, but a lot of it ends up, that's what we're trying to prevent, is the flooding back there.
Is there a map that shows accurately the area that you're going to want to pave, Michael?
If there is, I gave it to you. And it's mostly renderings from when the whole thing was, completely, when it was originally created. I did submit photos of the areas that are going to be paved.
Does that answer your question, Peter?
With the map, I only have one map. It's sort of a blue map with a bunch of highlighters and blue ink written on it. And didn't know if I was missing something.
Well, I could go get it.
Well, no, if you could
I-
send it to Mary.
It's right here. It's right here.
Yeah, we're not going to be able to see it very well. This
Well, I just want to see what you're referencing.
Well, I can show you what.
You gonna share it?
Yeah, this is the one I've been seeing.
Soup pump.
We have a lot of soup over
And
here.
it only
Yeah,
comes
it's not
partway
really-
off the page.
It's not really showing,
It doesn't show the driveways.
doesn't really show the driveway. I mean, these are additional these are documents that I threw in after we had the first meeting. And they were looking for a lay of the land. So that
If
was
you have
just,
anything better, it would be, even if
Yeah.
it's a Google and you could just mark it up.
Yeah, that would be fine. I tell you, we're having an issue now with one of our, we're not having the issue, but somebody is, with one of the approvals that we gave to a site plan about a year ago. And people are saying that they're not following it, or, one neighbor saying, no, you're not following what was on the site plan and what the condition was. So it's in everybody's best interest to be as specific and clear as possible as to what is going to be done. So there are no issues later about whether there's compliance or not,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll call Mary about I know there's some cost involved that we have to carry for the public hearing.
Correct.
Yeah, so I'll call her tomorrow.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Okay, number 4. This is, I guess, an agenda you put together. So
Yeah, I just thought it would be good to review what the status might be of the zoning revisions that were approved by town meeting in May. Do we know if the Attorney General has approved them? And if so, we're going to need clean copies of those for zoning purposes.
right, well, here's where my understanding of where it is, and Bob, if you're still there, being the town moderator, you might be able to add to this. or correct me if I misstate. There was, as you remember, there was B, C, D, and E. And B were the kind of general definitional changes. And B did not pass by vote. That's Article B. Article C was the, on the warrant, the ADUs, the additional dwelling units, that required a majority vote under state law and was adopted. Article D was the open space subdivision. That was also adopted by majority. And then finally, Article E was the transit-oriented village overlay district, which is the around the train station. That was Article E. So what has happened is that some residents in the town have retained a lawyer, the same lawyer who has sued the town of Rockport at least 5 times in the past several years, not very successfully, but has done it at least 5 times. They retained him, and he has filed objections to Articles C and E with the Attorney General. And as my understanding, he did not file an objection to Article D, which is the open space subdivision. My understanding is the Attorney General has asked the town to extend the time for them to review these and the objections until sometime in December, and I can't remember the date. And, you know, the town said, fine. And the same group, the same attorney has also actually filed a lawsuit against the town of Rockport. And the central theme, my understanding of all this litigation, is that somehow the majority approval is unconstitutional. That's the main argument. I don't know what else has been thrown in there, but that's kind of the main argument. And therefore, the approvals that were made at town meeting were not valid because they weren't approved by 2/3. So the answer to your question is, it's all kind of up in the air.
Now, this would affect all the other towns in Massachusetts, not just us. If,
Yeah, it would affect the entire state.
well, not the cities.
It
Yeah.
did get us an editorial in the Globe.
What?
It got us a nice editorial in the Globe.
Yeah, I saw that just today, actually. So that's,
Well,
that answer your question?
well, we certainly need to hold off on anything the AG has done, but if there's no court injunction, that doesn't stop us from going forward.
Well, right. I mean, it's just the AG hasn't
Yes.
said yes or no, but they want time to review them. I don't know what they're doing. So
Who actually produces the new zoning document? This just gets in line with our meeting notes, or does it come from somewhere else?
it's produced by the town clerk, I believe. I mean, at the end of the day, that's who produces it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my answer,
Okay.
unless Bob has something new.
I have nothing new. I think that was an accurate description. I think my concern, one of my concerns was allayed. I wanted to make sure that before there were additional changes proposed to the zoning bylaws, that we weren't totally complicating something that's already fairly complex and very hard from a user perspective, while all of these things are at various stages of approval. And, you know, and some of these will be, of course, in litigation for quite a period of time. But I think the recitation of where everything is was very accurate.
Thanks.
All right, you want to move on to the next item, plan for remaining revisions?
Yeah, I just wanted to have everyone on the same page with where we're going with the former warrant article B. If we're going to proceed to a special meeting, I was in the audience of the select board meeting when they met about having the next special meeting for this, and they basically had a consensus to do it sometime in December, not too late, because you don't want to get the holidays, but they did not take a vote on a specific date. So we're still kind of unclear about that. And if it is going to be December, we need to start preparing, because I think we need another hearing or hearings,
We need another public hearing?
don't we? If we're doing anything different from what we put in May.
We already had a public hearing.
Oh, you're right. You're right. We did. Sorry, October something, we did that.
Yeah, yeah. You had a public hearing. There was not a whole lot of interest. And we closed the public hearing after about 45
Okay.
minutes. Yeah.
You're right. Time has gone on. I had forgotten. Yes, we did
And
that.
I did write a letter to the Board of Selectmen. And did say, look, we have this public hearing. These are to do these changes basically had nothing to do with the ones that are in litigation. I mean, these are completely separate, to Bob's point. These are just simple, you know, changing a couple of definitions and adding language here, subtracting language there to existing provisions. Yeah.
And would require a 2/3 vote. So,
Which would require a 2/3 vote. No
Yeah.
issue with that. Yep. And since, you know, I've been away for a few weeks and I'm getting back. The next thing is to take what we have and what was, you know, was the notice for the public hearing, and to put it in a format to able to be included in a warrant. And I did talk with our town administrator about this, and, you know, we're going to move forward with that. You're right. No, as far as I know, there's no date that's been set, but he did mention a date in early December. So that's the date that we're going to, you know, shoot for. Whether it's that date or another date, I don't know. I mean, this should be pretty straightforward stuff. I mean, I think at the May meeting, there was some confusion about what was in Article B, and I think that caused some confusion. So understandably, and, you know, maybe we could have done things differently too on our end, broken Article B up a little bit more, and that's what we'll do this time, is break what was Article B, break it up into at least, you know, 5 or 6 different bites. So if any one doesn't get 2/3, it doesn't mean the rest of them are gonna, you know, fall with it, which is what happened in May. You know, look, we've done a lot here. We've done a lot, and yeah, it's all new territory for everybody. You know, it's not easy.
Okay, I just wanted to see that we're on the same page and know what to expect.
That's all the news that I have.
Okay.
Part of the issue with redoing these things, which I don't know if any of you have been aware of this, is simply the mechanics of reworking this stuff. I mean, this requires someone who is quite knowledgeable with Microsoft Word to be
Oh
able
my God.
to manipulate the documents. And it's been a struggle, I'll tell you. It's been more of a struggle than anyone can imagine to get that done. You know, because let's face it, the town of Rockport does not have a bevy of highly skilled legal secretaries. Why would they? Why would it? And, you know,
It's very ambitious, all the links, internal links and stuff, but it's invisible and you go to cut and paste and it goes crazy.
yeah, some of those links or some of those things are just really, you know, created more problems than they were worth, like the side tabs with the Roman numerals that MAPC did.
Yeah, they're nice, but boy, I tried
Nice, but
editing.
what- Yeah, they're a pain in the neck, total pain in the neck.
We decided to replace those with headers.
Yeah, we got rid of them. I mean, it was just ridiculous, but you
Yeah.
know, that's an example. It's, if anybody wants to take this on, no, I think I have somebody now who is capable of, you know, has the proficiency with Word to be able to do this stuff, but it's a challenge.
Word.
Yeah.
Do we have a committee budget for things like that?
We have a budget and, well, it's not our budget. I mean, the town has a budget
Oh, okay.
coming out of our money. No.
The money we're not spending on a planner.
This is secretarial help. This is not, yeah, this is just simply, I don't know how the town itemizes it, but it's, you know, it is put down as secretarial help. It's not specific to the planning board. Okay, item 6, exterior lighting revisions.
Okay, I had proposed a simple revision to the general bylaw to make the residential lighting apply to all exterior lighting in town. And that was not met with favor, to say the least, at the Government and Bylaw Committee. They would like to get consultation with not just commercial property owners, but with contractors and architects and lots of hearings and make a big deal about it. And so I guess that's the way we'll do it. And in terms of time frame, when I pointed out that we would no longer have anything more than just the residential, once we delete the commercial from the zoning bylaw, they said, no, well, maybe you should not delete that. We don't intend to do anything until fall of 2023. So my counter proposal was, why don't we do just this exterior lighting thing in the normal annual town meeting in April? And they didn't say no, but it's going to be a struggle to make that happen. I see some urgency here because I really want to get this thing straightened out because it's been in limbo for too long. And from my perspective, if the residences are appropriate with this sort of specification that we've got, why should it be any different for any other property?
Well, I guess it's kind of in the hands of the Government and Bylaws Committee, isn't it?
Well, they also said they expect to have a new member with some environmental background, although not specifically lighting. How that's better than what I know about, I don't know.
Okay, well, thank you for the update. I don't know why, oh, we have member items. Item 7. Any members have any items they want to bring before?
I
the
don't.
No,
There was an MAPC meeting this morning, but it was a item, well, let me just say the items were not a whole lot that applies to us. There was a extended awards granting to some folks. And then there were some workshops about diversity and inclusion. And
Anybody go
much.
to the new software thing today?
no, I had a conflict, but it's going to be recorded. So we will be able to see the recording.
Oh, good. Where do you find that?
It's yet to be posted as far as I know, but Rob Craig is our contact for that, so he may know more. He's got his hand up.
Yeah, I'll just give a quick update on that if you don't mind, Jason.
No, go ahead.
So we did a demonstration today. I had members of the Board of Health as well as the Zoning Board of Appeals attend, and they asked a lot of good questions. So I think you'll find that the content will be very useful for you guys' purposes as well, understanding the idea there. As far as where we're at right now with the software, we're still in the reviewing proposals phase. So we haven't, signed on or anything of that sort as of yet. So I'll be looking for feedback. I'm going to be out at a conference and then on vacation, not this coming week, but the following week. And when I return from vacation, I'll sort of be planning a follow-up meeting with members of the board, whoever is able to attend, to get feedback. So I'll be sending out an email on either tomorrow or Monday that'll include the recording as well as the proposal that they shared, so that you can all review that and provide any feedback over the course of the next 2 weeks. And then let me know how you guys are feeling and if you have any follow-up questions that I should ask the proposed vendor.
Great, okay. That's good.
One other thing, there was a workshop Tuesday evening about the future of Good Harbor Beach and the surrounding area. And a lot of that kind of applies to Long Beach. So I don't know if anyone else attended that, but there is a recording and might be of interest for what we're looking there in the future. This was mostly history and some projections about what could happen in a big hurricane. And there'll be another workshop at the end of November talking about adaptation, which is kind of relevant to what's going to happen at Long Beach, I think.
Yep, same coastline.
Same kind of beach. Same salt marsh.
Yeah.
And if the water gets high enough, they're connected behind Briar Neck. That's all I got.
Any other member items? Okay, no other member items. Any public comments? Anybody have their hand up?
I don't see any, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Then anybody have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn this meeting.
I see a hand up.
Oh, you do? Oh,
Yeah, Toby just raised his hand at the last minute there.
Go ahead, take his.
Toby Arsenian, 95 Granite Street. Tom's difficulties with the Government and Bylaw Committee and their schedule. They too have troubles. It would certainly help both you and them if you could sit down together at a joint meeting, not only to discuss the lighting, but the stormwater. They're going forward with that and have determined for no very good reason that your board should be the permitting authority for the stormwater permits, which are going to be an enormous amount of work if the thing is actually operative. It's been on the books for many years and not operative. And it's well-intentioned and may meet the town's needs for larger projects. They're aiming for a threshold of 7,500 square feet as opposed to the 20,000 that we now have. What the government originally required was 40,000 square feet. The 20,000 is a credit or discredit to Eric Hutchins. But anyway, nothing deals with stormwater below that threshold. And that's a gross omission because you can do major damage to your neighbor's property with areas much smaller than 7,500 square feet. And something needs to be dreamt up. I don't think they're going to put it into the code of bylaws, and properly it would go into the zoning bylaw that would deal with any drainage going off of a property onto another property, whether caused by excavations or paving or fill, whatever. It's, you look to the zoning to protect you from your neighbor and from environmental degradation, and the protections simply aren't there. So you need to sit down with them and decide who's going to deal with it. I would say that that would be a zoning matter, but you could decide between you. That's all.
That was a mic drop.
Yeah, I think I have talked with, just to add to that, I have talked with government and bylaws, several members of that, and their problem is that they, you know, there are only a limited number of boards that could deal with this, or the boards and or departments. I know for a fact that the DPW, which would be, could be a body that would deal with these permits, doesn't want to. So, you know, that's, that eliminates them from the running. And anyway, it's a big job, and it's going to be, there's going to be a lot of talk about it before anything is ever implemented. But we're, you know, we really don't have any effective stormwater management in the town of Rockport at this point.
Mr. Chair, you have a hand from Laura Kozachek.
Okay. As we opened up a topic here, so might as well go with it.
Go ahead, Laura.
Oh, Laura Kozachek, 293 Granite Street, and Chair of the Conservation Commission. And I just wanted to put in a little input. Thank you very much, Jason, for your overview of the issues and why nobody wants this loathsome job. It is really clear to me, after having looked into this for a great deal of time, some years, and also having attended an environmental conference recently for conservation commissioners, that stormwater management really does need to be in the purview of conservation commissions. I think that the way this will be handled is that there will be a consultant, a civil engineering firm of some sort that will be basically on tap, that will be used for evaluations and to help with this. So that's my understanding, and I'm keenly interested in how we go forward with the updates and improvements that we need. And I appreciate Toby's participation in this and his warning about what the threshold might need to be, that it might need to be much lower than 7,500 square feet. And of course, the 20,000 square feet in the past was rather absurd for this community. So that's what I really wanted to say. And everything about that is related to everything else, as far as water quality goes, as far as the other kinds of issues that you have before you as well, with things like this asphalt millings and many other topics. So I think that we do need to have some way to have a workshop with planning board. You guys would be very helpful, but also certainly government and bylaws and Conservation Commission needs to be a part of this. The reason why DPW has been requested to take this on in the past is because they have paid employees. They already have people who can potentially have this expertise potentially. I don't think anybody believes that's true, though. You really have to be a stormwater specialist as a civil engineer in order to treat this properly. So thanks for letting me put that in. I just had to say something about stormwater. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, you're welcome. All right. Very good.
Jason, I have another hand from Toby if you want to take it.
Well, if Toby, is this going to be just more on the same topic?
elaboration.
Now, then let's, for me, it's 2:00 in the morning and I'm, I'd rather not talk about it anymore right now. It really isn't gonna, it's way too early. We're not even close to making these decisions. So let's hold off on that. Motion to adjourn,
So moved.
Second,
seconded by Peter. Roll call vote. Harry,
Aye.
Peter,
aye.
Tom,
Aye.
and I'll vote to adjourn. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, folks.
Thanks, Rob.
Good night, everybody.
Appreciate-
Good night.